very much. Okay, welcome everyone, good afternoon. Right, so for the last session of the day, hopefully I can keep you nicely entertained and what have you, and informed and what have you. So, I'm Neville Wilson, I'm part of the sales team in the UK for Information Builders, and as you almost heard from Richard, we've been around for 40 years. To a certain extent, it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Some people might say, well, that's old and old-fashioned and there's some baggage in that. However, through the 40 years we've been around, we have continued to innovate and take advantage of emerging technologies and what have you, and that has resulted in the portfolio of products and the platform that we can offer today. So I'll touch on that a little bit towards the end, but in our view, it's 40 years of good, solid, robust development that people can rely on today. So anyway, so we're talking about data monetization, making money out of big data and smart analytics. So are you all into the big data thing at all? Trying. Okay. What about BI and analytics then? Is that perhaps is more of a, okay. That's good. Okay, so the way I wanted to start here was really just to sort of set the scene in as much as we're all acutely aware of the problems from the financial crisis of 2002 and 8 and what have you, and how it's put a tremendous pressure on us to cope with and address declining sales revenues, diminishing customer loyalty, all sorts of manner of things that are causing people who run businesses to say, right, we need to address this, and we need to think about ways in which we can either make more money or save some money. Okay, so data monetization may be one of the ways in which we can do that. So the point that I'm going to try and get through this thread in the next 30 minutes or so is that we feel that the promised returns of data monetization haven't really been realised, and that's because there's been something of a disconnect up till now between the BI and insights generation that are pretty well handled now, and the operational side of the business where decisions are made. So we're talking about a break between BI and insights and decision making at an operational level and what have you. Okay. So just making sure these are coming up. So we're all aware that we're creating a whole host, a great deal more electronic data and what have you, and it's growing exponentially. And of course, the value in the data that we're holding, therefore, is becoming more valuable because there's more of the stuff. But there being more and greater volumes of data means that it's becoming more costly to manage, especially if your processes are, intercepted with manual steps and other inefficient processes and what have you. So it presents a problem, but it also presents an opportunity, this growth in data, because it allows us to get a much deeper insight into what's happening with our customers, our suppliers, our products, etc., etc. So the key now, the trick is, so we've got all this data, it's growing massively at an enormous rate. How do we get and extract the value out of that data that we're holding? So some of us, and I made this mistake early on actually, may have thought that when people talk about data monetization, they're actually talking about you being able to sell some of the data that you've been collecting over the years to someone else, to maybe one of your suppliers or customers or something like that. And indeed, that is a key part of it. But as Forbes themselves last year pointed out, it's not just about selling data, it's also about making money. So not just making money out of selling data, but making money by saving money internally. So it might be that, as you see here, it might be in order to try and overcome some process inefficiencies. It might be to help in terms of improving behaviour of people, not just changing their behaviour, but improving performance through perhaps some visible benchmarking, so people can see what's going on elsewhere, perhaps between other sales teams or divisions or whatever. And maybe in terms of an asset, if it's a product, maybe something like that, if you've got a better and a deeper insight into the product, it might be that you've got a much better grasp of the performance of that product in terms of how it's doing out in the field, and therefore it gives you an opportunity about making a judgment on maintenance support or something like that. So if you can get that more efficient and effective, then of course it's likely to save you money as well. Okay. Talking in terms of some types, I mean that first point about products, we've actually got some customers, and I'll show you an example of one a little later, but we've got some customers who've actually created information-based products that they are providing to their customers, which wasn't possible previously because they didn't have the depth of data. They hadn't really been looking at the value in their data. So I'll come on to that in a moment. Also in terms of maybe providing something for your customers, allowing you to sort of, if you like, circle the wagons around your existing customer base by securing their custom, by providing them with added value in terms of your service with them in the exchange of information regarding the transactions between you and customer, you and partner of some kind or what have you. And I spoke about that sort of change in behaviour as well that you might see between different parts of your organisation and what have you. The greater the volume of data, you're probably aware now, you know, with statistical data these days and algorithms, the more data you've got, the more likely it is that you'll be able to uncover some sort of trends and patterns emerging, be it in interactions between you and customers or whatever, whether it's things like improving inventory management or maintenance of parts or whatever. There's that as well in terms of avoiding wastage. Extracting inefficiencies out of your processes and what have you, and as you might expect, one of the greatest exponents of this, one of the greatest sectors is telecoms. And I don't know if any of you are O2 customers at all, but have any of you ever taken advantage of their priority moments service, for example? So you can be somewhere and you get notified on your phone that Cafe Nero's, which is just a few yards away from you. If you go in there now with your O2 app, you get a free coffee. In fact, most Mondays actually you can get that. Did you know also that a little soundbite that I'd written to myself here was that 35% of all the purchases made on Amazon are actually through product recommendations. I thought that was quite high, but it shows you the value of knowing the patterns and the behaviours of people, products, etc.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
You talked about monetisation. How do you trade the line with the Data Protection Act? Because when you're processing data in this kind of way, it's always a challenge to be compliant because not necessarily people understand how you're using their data and in what way you're utilising that data to drive opportunity.
Good point. And I think that's the real issue there would be if you're selling that data or moving that data outside of your business. It has to be anonymised. So if, for example, your customers are a bunch of retailers and you're working with all of them, you could, to each one of them knows its own data, but you could anonymise all the other data so that you can get peer group averages and things like that. That's the value, is that one of your customers can now see how they are in the pecking order in their peer group, for example. But it's all anonymised. You won't be able to break it down, not without prior permission, of course.
And
Richard.
The risk of intruding in discussion adding to it. One of the winners in the recent European Cloud Awards is a company that has developed the means, it's a powerful set of URLs and capabilities, to be able to analyze social media to get the kind of data you're talking out, while rigorously protecting individual privacy. And Facebook is so impressed by it that it's promptly taken them into its data centers so that they can continue to run their data centers for Facebook with great privacy, but develop a lot more analysis of the patterns and things they see and get earnings from that. So the answer is companies are developing the means to allow you to do that, protect privacy while getting the essential patterns.
seen some customers where they've analysed data quite innocent